Hi, everyone. Welcome. I am so excited about this. Teresa and I have been talking about this for about a year, really. And we had it scheduled once, and then my son had his accident, so I had to kind of reschedule many things at that. But I'm kind of glad it's gone on because so much has unfolded um, in between, and I'm very happy to be back having these once a month programs. But I'm so excited for you to talk about it because, first of all, Teresa and I met at the very same time we joined Intuition Circle. We joined it within weeks of each other, actually. So she's in my newbie class. And so it's really kind of nice to come full circle, and it's great to see people that started together. And can you guys believe it's been almost 3 years of since a lot of us like came together? Teresa Freiberg, we were in about the same time. I think you were in a little bit earlier, Robin. It's amazing. I almost can't remember what I was like when that happened. The memory of who I was, and I would say that that's not been true in my life. I've seen myself change, but I could always remember. But this has been this awakening, completely different. I just want to check to make sure we're on the page. It says we are, and there we are. So again, I want to welcome everyone. I'm going to let Teresa introduce herself, and then I'm so excited and she said she was a little nervous, but we always have fun here. So it's just really a discussion, and Intuition of the Soul is about having a place people can come and learn about their awakening. And this is going to be a fun topic because there's a lot of new people in the last few months. And I've gotten comments like, oh, well, you know so much. And I'm like, not really. It's all a matter of process, and what Teresa Freiberg and I were just talking about that. Like, it is amazing how all of these things are coming to be and making sense, where just conversations we've had even as little as a year ago would have been like, wow, now it's like known thing. So it's pretty cool. So why don't you tell us about yourself, and welcome to everyone who's joining us. We have 4 people joining us online at the moment too. So hello to everybody online.
Well, I'm Teresa Adams, founder and creator of Trans4orm with Teresa, and I have gone through a huge awakening. One of the things that helped me with it was a reading that I got with Kitty. It's been, a while back. We were talking about it's been at least 2 years
Yeah.
that I had that reading, but yeah, all the different little steps along the way just kind of transform you to a different person. And I literally am not the same person that I was 2.5 years ago. It's crazy. But the transformation that I made was really unique in the way that I knew that I wanted to help people, and I just didn't know how to do that. I knew that I had gone through a lot of experiences in my life, and I knew that those experiences were not in vain. They were to help other people through the same types of experiences. And so I was trying to find a way to help, and get out there and do it. And I ran across a program that was about EFT, tapping, emotional freedom technique tapping, which is basically like, as my friend says, acupuncture without needles. And so you just tap on the points of the meridian points on your face, and sometimes here and different places on your body. And as you do that, it it occupies your physical mind while myself and the person I'm doing it with talks to your subconscious mind and kind of lets go and releases those things that have been programmed throughout your life that really no longer serve you. And here's the weird thing about it is as I was going through the program, you have to learn how to do it. And in order to learn how to do it, you have to swap with people. And so I would be the client one time, and then I would be the practitioner the next time. Well, when you're the client, you actually have to work on something, right? And I had started a weight loss program. And at the time that I started the class, I had come to like a stall in the weight loss. I had lost about 50 pounds and I just wasn't losing anymore. And I was still doing the same thing that had made me lose the 50 pounds, but it just stopped. So I started to notice that each time I would have, and I would do 2 a week, each time I would have these swaps and I would be a client and I would dig into something and find some kind of emotion that I had shoved down inside of me that was actually making me turn to food to avoid that emotion. I would bring that emotion up. I would acknowledge it. I would recognize it, recognize why it was there, recognize that it's no longer needed, and let it go. And it was just amazing. Every time I did that, I physically would lose more weight. And to date, I've lost 105 pounds. So yeah. So I just, got to a point where I thought, this is amazing. And, people don't really, it could be something as simple as, I use myself as an example. When I was in school, I was a fat kid. And so people called me the fat kid. And so I literally put on a shield over myself to kind of protect me. My subconscious mind did it as a survival mode, put a shield over me to protect me from those words so they wouldn't hurt me. But then when I got older, that shield was still there and I didn't realize I was carrying it around. So not only was it still bubbling up and causing me, anxiety and stuff that I didn't really even realize it was doing, but it was also weight on me that I didn't realize, physical and mental weight, that once I released it, I let go of that mental and physical weight. It was just crazy. And I've helped people do the same for about a year and a half now.
So you didn't really set out as a weight loss and a spiritual, you kind of were doing them separately. And
Yeah.
then, so because that's interesting to me, I had gotten to a point where I have very compartmentalized life. And so can you talk to that a little bit? Because that's fascinating, really is.
It it is because, when I first joined the program of learning how to do this, I really thought that I was going to be studying how to develop my intuition. And so when I learned that it was this tapping thing, at first I was a little irritated. And the person who teaches this class, Michelle, she knows it. I've told her this, and she actually uses it in her class. So I'm not talking behind her back by any means. But I was like, what is this? What is this tapping on ourselves? What? I don't understand. I don't even know if I feel comfortable doing this. It feels weird and awkward, and but what ended up happening is that was a really good way of connecting and getting to the root of people's problems. And I naturally developed my intuition to help me guide myself and them to what they needed in that time, in that moment. So they'll 9 times out of 10, a client will come to me and say they don't have any idea what they want to work on, but I know what they work on from either my team or their team. And I'm 95% of the time spot on. So it's a combination of, I use that intuition to be able to actually help or guide or inspire people to kind of change the way that they program their way of living their life. They program themselves to live that way. And so you kind of change that way of thinking and release those things that no longer serve you, which allows you to raise your vibration.
So you talk about their team. Can you explain that a little bit for somebody who may not know what you're talking about? You didn't walk in with like 50 people with you. So, well, you might have, but that's another story. So,
Well, my team is basically my spirit guides. I have angels. I have my guides that have been with me. Everyone has, certain guides that are with you your whole life from the time you're born until, and each of them help with a different thing. One will help with relationship, one helps with finances, one helps with, so they come in as they're needed, but they're always there for you to call on. Then you can also call on archangels. I also call on galactic beings. I've talked with them. They're all there to help us and guide us in our best, to be our best self, and to be the best light here on earth that we can be. And so they're always there to guide us in the right direction and to give us the right way to go, and to kind of help us stay on that path. It's just amazing. And it never ceases to amaze me. Right before this, because I was nervous, I drew myself a card, and out of the card, I drew, my kindness is a gift I bestow upon the world. And I thought, how perfect is that? Because it is exactly what I want to do. It's exactly why I want to help people, because I'm in a place in my life now where I am happier than I've ever been in my entire life. And if I could make just one more person be that way, I will feel like I've succeeded in life, you know?
Mm-hmm. That's really amazing. So, I mean, continue to tell us, like, I see you have sound bowls over on the left, and I can see the chakra colors right there. So you took this EFT, it was just an EFT course, or was it something else?
It was just EFT and learning how to be a life coach,
Okay.
intuitive life coach. Yes. Yeah.
And so it wasn't what you thought. What did you really think it was going to be?
I thought it was going to be developing my intuition, but in all reality, your intuition develops in divine timing whenever it's supposed to be. Everyone has it, right? I believe so. And
Mm-hmm.
so, and it develops in, you know, as you're supposed to get it in divine timing. So, you know, it really wasn't what I needed. What I wanted really wasn't what I needed. Isn't that way it usually goes? You know, but what I got was really what I did need. And what I got was really what does help people. I haven't ever done a session where at the end of this, one time I've had someone tell me that they didn't feel any different. And then the next day they messaged me and said, I felt this and this and this today. And I was like, oh, well, I think you might feel a little different then.
Right. Sometimes it's just that people don't know what different is. It's
Or it just takes a while to process it.
mhm.
Mm.
So you started the tapping. Were you surprised at the level of transformation that really started to happen? Because I'd like you
Oh,
to talk about that, because I know that there's many people out here wondering about, well, how did those things go together? You know?
yeah, it is because so, and this is actually something that you told me when you did my reading. For
Now, I'm
whatever,
going to tell you something, guys. First of all, if you don't know, I do astrology charts. Second of all, I remember almost nothing from readings. Almost nothing, because so I've always loved it when people come back and say, well, you said that, and I'll go, I did. I'm not saying it.
yeah,
Just like I'm literally channeling this, because I'll say it, I said, I did. So enlighten me. What did I say? What did
that's
spirit say? Let's put it that way.
that's so true because I'm exactly the same way with the session. Somebody will come back the next week and say, "Oh, you did said this last week and this, and do you remember that?" No, sorry. I don't remember. I'm sorry. I mean, I remember a couple little notes that I wrote down about your emotions, but I don't remember what else was channeled. But I remember that you told me that my bus stop conversation this time for in life was that I really wanted to be able to see all sides of everything. And I have, like, you told me that I had more boxes than you'd ever seen, actual boxes in my chart, but I just have a really good knack at looking at a situation and giving the person outside insight to what, when you're in it, it's kind of like rose colored glasses. When you're in the situation, you can't really see the whole picture. And so when somebody else is just says something like, well, did you think about this? And then it's something they didn't even think about. It gets them to thinking about that, and then that brings them to the emotions that brings up, you know. And so it's kind of like the questioning behind the EFT, and then I do a little bit of guided imagery. I do the sound bowls. It's kind of a sidekick. But yeah.
Well, that's interesting. So anyway, you did this tapping. And then start to tell us about what started to happen for you. Obviously, there's a big physical transformation and were you surprised at what it, like, how did that happen? Because having been a person, anybody here on who struggled with trying to do diets, which I now know don't work at all, what started to happen for you? Because that's part of what we like to share is people's awakening stories, awareness stories.
Well, it was weird because
Oh
I,
no, it couldn't be weird.
right?
Oh, you're
So
gonna be shocked.
it, it was just kind of a natural, I mean, because I was kind of focused on learning how to do the EFT, right? So my focus was on that. And so it I could feel the transformation in me as far as things that would emotionally bother me or things that I would get anxiety about, or I used to have panic attacks really really bad. The all those things went away because the things that were causing it I brought them up, dealt with them, and released them and let them go. And so focusing on that and focusing on myself, what I felt mentally was just a sense of freedom. It was just a sense of not feeling like I'm carrying around this great big backpack of luggage that I have accumulated throughout my lifetime, from different things that have happened to me. It was like a lighter, a more free feeling. I mean, freedom is the best word to say of it. And then it's something that I noticed just kind of after the fact, that the scale started moving. And I was like, and then I started putting two to two together. I thought, wait a minute. This has got to have some correlation, because then it continued, because I lost another 55 pounds from when I started doing it. So, I knew that it correlated. And then when I started working with other people and it started working for them as well, I thought, okay, there's something to this. And yeah, I mean, the emotions, when you push them down and don't deal with them, can cause all sorts of problems. They can cause physical pain, they can cause weight gain, they can cause some people to turn to drinking or drugs or anything like that. So the best thing to do is not to shove it down. And the best thing to do, even though it's the hardest thing to do, is to deal with that emotion. Even if it's someone who makes you mad on the drive home from work, I mean, instead of allowing them to alter your mood, just say, okay, this person is just not nice right now, and I'm not going to let him affect how I'm feeling or change my mood, and so all of it just puts you on a different level, to where it just puts you in a happy state. Whereas before I was like on a roller coaster of emotions, almost like manic depressive. I wasn't, but it'd be one day I'd be good, the next day I'd be bad. But once I dealt with all the things that I had shoved down, I'm just even keel now. There's hardly ever do I have a bad day.
Wow. So like talk about, if you can, because that's really interesting to me. Do you still tap every day? Oh, look at the puppy. Um, um, I'm such a dog person. Squirrel, you know. Can you talk about, like, do you still tap every day, or like internally, what did you start to feel? You must have been some kind of shift that stepped forward that you help people look at when they transform.
Yes, yes. Yeah, it's a lot of the shift that I feel I will get as we're doing the tapping. I will get guided in a lot of, probably about 50% of the words that I use are their own words that they've given me, as we talked before, and before the session. And then as we tap, I get guided stuff, that's given either to me by their team or my team, but it's all for their highest and greatest good. And so it's what is given to me is what that's needed for them to kind of shift them at that moment to just the next, they're all little baby steps, I mean, it took me a good 6 months of doing it every 2 week or twice a week to really feel the shift, the big shift of it. But each one of them was a little shift. Each time you bring something up like that and release it, each one of them is letting go of something that's holding you back or standing in your way or a block, things that you allow to get in your way, which then, those things usually lead to negative self-talk, and nothing good, so you get all of that yuck and muck out of there, and it helps you just to live a happier life and to live your soul's purpose. I would have never been able to truly help other people until I healed all the things in me that needed to be healed and still continue to do so.
Oh yeah, it never stops, does it?
No.
No, it's just
Because
a
life
new level of
continues.
awareness.
Mm-hmm.
The frequency and where you move. So when you say,
Yes,
you actually then you channel then while you're working with people.
absolutely.
So
Um,
what some things that you've been told from other guides, that's really always interesting to me, especially when you're tapping and kind of in that coaching.
they'll give it, and I always ask for it before, I always say a prayer beforehand, and I call in my guides and their guides, and give me whatever is needed for their highest and greatest good. So I can't think of anything specific, but it's usually just something that, and 9 times out of 10, when we're done, the client will look at me and say, I don't know where you got that wording from or how you knew how to say that, but that was exactly what I needed to hear. When you said that, I got chills throughout my body, or a light bulb went off, or, and it's literally something that is just dropped into the top of my, it's not my thought, I'm completely someplace else. It's dropped into the top of my head. And that's how I know it comes from spirit. And so I just let it out because I know it's for their highest and greatest good, because it wouldn't have been dropped in my head to begin with if it wasn't.
Mm-hmm. Were you like that as a kid? Do you, now that you're aware of your gifts more, can you talk about like how you grew up, what was your kind of mindset before you stepped into this? Because that's always interesting. We have people here who are just trying to figure that out, and they'll be watching this at midnight on our playlist. And so it's always kind of good to talk about where you came from.
That's a really good question, because I feel like I really was very intuitive, and I had a trauma happen in my lifetime that it was actually a trauma to my daughter, but it made me doubt my intuition and shut it down completely.
Okay.
And so that was something that I literally had to heal to open back up, because, it was literally like, well, if you couldn't see this, then how the hell you think you can see anything else? You know what I mean? So it was another one of those
Anybody else have that? Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. If
Right.
you miss this, how the hell, And so you have to get that doubt out of your mind, because I kind of feel my thought of it is that Spirit wants to know that you're in the appropriate place to receive their message, because they don't want to waste the energy to try to get it to you if you're not able to receive it in the first place. So
Now
it's
say that again. That's very, very important for many of us that work with healers, if people aren't ready to hear. So would you say that again, please?
So spirit, it takes it, they know when you're ready to hear something. They know when you're ready to actually absorb it and hear it. And if you're not in that place, they're not going to spend the energy or the effort to deliver it to you, because you won't receive it.
Uh, and that's hard sometimes for a healer who thinks they have something to say. And have you had people yet who, when you say it, you can see that they just aren't hearing it yet?
Um, Not when I've said that, because I haven't really said that.
No, I mean
Because
anything
I
like you said, but you're aware of it. Yeah.
right, yeah. When there's a lot of times that I'll say things to people that they aren't ready to hear it, and they just shut down and like redirect, and so then, if spirit gives it to me in a different way that I can say it, then I'll say it to him in that way. But yeah, there's a lot of times that people don't want to hear things.
Now, have you ever edited because you realize like in your conversation with somebody's team where you say, I'm not going to say that.
No.
Well, see, I have. There have been times where I'm like, I'm not going to say it that way. I'm going to say something, but so that's interesting. So you've never gotten that kind of information.
Not that I would switch it, because my belief is that they give it to you in the way that it needs to be heard, and so that's why I don't switch it. Um, Unless it's something, but I don't ever get anything like this. I don't ever think that anybody should predict things, or say anything that could be bad, because free will and the future is always changeable. So, but I don't ever get anything like that. So I don't have to worry about, ever inhibiting something like that. I have always just gotten what I feel like the person needs to hear, and I just give it in the exact way I get it.
Yeah, I try to give it in the exact way, but there are sometimes I'm like, and eventually I kind of say something about it. But there have been times where I will say that something was channeled and I'm like, okay, I'm going to say this. And I could say, I've just been told, and sometimes people aren't ready to hear it, but I figured Spirit had a moment for that. So
Yeah.
that it's an interesting position to be in.
Hmm.
Um, when you're working with people. I at least have a chart. I can say it's in your chart. This is what it says. But sometimes they've actually talked to me about it. So anyway, keep going. Tell us about a little bit more about what, how this process has unfolded for you, because that's impressive how you weren't even trying to lose the weight, but your spirit was that close, really shifting.
Yeah, yeah. And, I mean, for the most part, I can't really explain it other than just healing those things that, and probably at least 50% of them, I didn't know that I had shoved them down so far and needed to heal. Um, but it just was like an ebb and flow process, it just kind of went. And personally, I feel like the universe did it for me specifically so that I can help other people do the same.
Mhm.
I think that I mean, because I've lost over 100 pounds 5 times in my lifetime. So this was
Wow.
the fifth time that I've lost over 100 pounds, and I started it when I was 55 years old, and I'm all about numbers, but it was the easiest in my lifetime. When they say, you get older, it should get harder, it was the easiest that I had lost in all 5 times of losing the weight. So I don't know that I can't attribute it to anything other than that work that I did on myself. I can't contribute it to anything other than the shift that I made in my life.
Well, talk about the shift a little bit. I mean, you must feel completely different this time through.
I do. I am a completely different person. I used to be um very short-tempered. I used to be very quick to judge. I used to be very um extremely emotional, anxiety ridden, that type of things. All of those things are basically just gone now. I used to have to take anxiety medicines and everything like that. I don't have to take that anymore. It's even gone as far, and I truly think that the mind can heal your body. And I feel that so strongly that I am living proof of it, because in 2016, I was diagnosed with stage 4 kidney failure. And the doctors told me that, I wasn't to the point that I needed dialysis, but that unfortunately there wasn't anything they can do for the kidneys. They would try to keep it from getting any worse, but there's nothing they can do. Once the kidneys are damaged, they're damaged. And I was like, okay. Well, in 2021, they moved me to stage 3, and the doctors can't even explain it.
And so you didn't take any medicines. You didn't, so wow. So your body was healing itself.
Absolutely. By
I,
just releasing the yuck and the muck that you hold on to, that, you go through life and literally life programs you to act a certain way, not your birthright way, not what you were born to live, but what other people are saying to you or teaching you or shoving in your head or program. When we were growing up, Kitty, and most of us on here, magazines and TVs, they were the things that were programming our head to what we were supposed to be or how we were supposed to act. And those things altered what our true birthright is. And so in order to get back to that true birthright and our true soul purpose, we have to let go of all that yuck and muck that's stuck to us as we come along in life.
Yeah, because we we make these patterns and we buy into these patterns. And
Absolutely.
so that makes perfect sense to me, that as I change internal pattern, the internal pattern that I've set my body up to, that's a great example. And I'm going to borrow it and steal it if that's okay, telling the
No,
story
no
about
problem.
you physically can change.
Yes.
So tell us about like what a day looks like for you. What really, it's very interesting to me how you made this shift. I mean, I met you that 3 years ago and have watched this, go on. And I thank you for the pleasure of doing your chart, and thank you for that there are things that you remember from it. So, I mean, to kind of talk about your day, and I know you're going to do some tapping with us, so that'll be fun. And tell us about what that tapping you've witnessed that it's done for you,
I
because
will.
a lot of us know tapping.
Yeah. Well, I want to say one more thing about the label. A really good analogy of the label thing of like somebody saying something to you and you literally like making it that your life is, I know back in the late 90s that psychiatrists, and nothing bad about psychiatrists, but they started to label people certain things, ADHD, manic depressant, those type of things. And so I truly think that maybe a fourth of them were that way. And the rest of them just, that story got into their head. And so they literally made themselves that. I think that is how powerful words are. That, I mean, the vibration and the strength and the power of words can literally alter someone's life completely. You
Mhm.
know? I mean, it's crazy when you think about it.
Well, and that's that judgment pattern. Then I think I know more, and I'm still locking potentials then in my own body if I judge. And often what happens is I'm still looking from outside me. So that's what the judgments are about versus what's coming through me. So I think that that's fascinating. The fact that you changed your kidney issue. Not only did you lose weight, but you also talked about your emotional body is. I mean, I'm sure you still get angry sometimes, I'm sure, but you're much more aware of what it's doing in your body. So, yeah, that's really interesting. Can you speak to that a little bit too, like from the tapping
Yeah.
perspective and what it does? So,
Yeah. And so with the tapping, it allows you to really look at, like, let's say I get upset with something or something has upset me. I can literally start tapping on it and just talk about what's upsetting me. I'm okay. I'm safe. This situation is going to go away. That type of thing. I can do that. When I do it with other people, I normally will do it on a certain subject.
mhm.
Like something that they want to work on, so that I will usually ask them, is there something that is bothering you today, or is there something this week has come up, and so we'll work on that certain thing. um I had thought about what I would want to do as like a example here for you guys tonight. What I have run an ad that sends out a Love Yourself Again journal, and so I thought maybe we could just do a little bit of that about just loving yourself and taking care of yourself and no negative self-talk and that type of stuff. If everyone wants to do something like that, and we can just go through a
I,
little round
I
of
think
10. I'm
I
going to
think it would
explain it.
be wonderful, because I can tell you astrologically, because we're all going to geek, because I'm always going to geek out on that. Y'all know that. This is a time where there's our soul is, there's a T-square, and it's really being pushed to do what we need to do. And so self-compassion is really important so that we can hear what our soul is asking us to get done and to pay attention to it. So this is a great time to do that, especially over the next 5 to 6 weeks. There's astrologically, there's a real push to step totally into your soul's mission. So,
Yeah.
all right. So yeah, I think it's a good time, because what we do is we leave about 10 minutes for people to ask questions, and then we can come back and follow up. And I just find it very fascinating. This, Joanne and I often also talk about when you hit a certain point, your body follows. It follows your brain, and as you release patterns, those patterns really do reorganize. So
Yes,
it's
yes,
fascinating.
it is.
And you're a living example of that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so there's a few points that I use. One of them is right above your eyebrows.
I'm gonna take my glasses off.
Yeah.
My glasses. All right.
And then the next one
Do you
is
want people to stay on camera, or would
it doesn't matter either way to me. It doesn't matter. And the second part is right at the side, right on that bone, right there.
eye cheekbone?
At the side, no, that'll be the next one. Right at the side of your corner of your eye, on that bone right there at the corner of your eye.
Okay.
And then on the cheekbone. And then sometimes I do right on the top of the lip. And on
And
the
why these points? What are these points?
they're meridian points.
Okay.
Meridian points on your body. Like if you was go to get acupuncture, these are the points they would put the needles in the acupuncture.
Okay.
It relaxes, it activates those meridian points. As you tap on them, it activates them. So it kind of activates the energy in your system, right?
Well, it's funny you should say that, because I had a big conversation online today about the word activate. I use it instead of trigger, because it's the same idea. We do activate when we react to something. So that makes sense that I can take some control if my activation isn't how I want to integrate with it. So
I love that.
Trigger seems to, for me, this is just like you were saying about words. The word trigger sounds like I don't have responsibility. Oh, the trigger got pulled and I had a reaction, versus, oh, it activated an emotion in me. Now, what emotion would I like to have served me at that moment? Is anger going to be what my choice is? Curiosity, all of those things. So anyway, so I love the word activate.
Yeah, that's perfect. I love the way you put that to go with it. I love it. So another person right on your chin. I don't know if I said that. And then your collarbone. And then I also do the karate point right here.
What karate point is?
So on the side of your pinky side.
Okay.
And then you just tap on that meaty spot right there with the other hand.
Okay.
And it's called the karate chop.
All right.
Okay, so I always like to ground ourselves before we start. So if everyone's just close your eyes and take a couple deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. I actually heard the other day that it actually helps to make a sound as you exhale. I'm not sure why, but we'll go with it. In through your nose. Try to fill your chest up and your belly all the way. And then exhale. And then I'd like for you all to bring your attention to the base of your feet, right at the arches. And I'd like for you to sense, feel, and imagine roots growing out of the arches of your feet, going down into the ground. Just breathing normally and allowing the breath with each breath and each heartbeat, those roots grow stronger and deeper, going all the way down, reaching down to Mother Earth, connecting to her healing, warm energy. Connecting to her also allows us a place to release the energy that we no longer want to hold on to and no longer serves us. We release it down to her, and she's able to neutralize it and use it for good again. But it allows us an exit. Take another deep breath in, blowing it out. And let's start on the karate point. Just tapping right there. And you can repeat after me. You can say it out loud or in your mind. And if I don't say everything that comes to your mind, you go ahead and add what comes to your mind. I've gone through this life, and things have altered me, have reprogrammed me in ways that are not my soul's purpose. These things are no longer serving me. And it's time to let them go. Tapping above your eyebrows. I release and let go of all the sadnesses. I release and let go of all the fears. It's safe to let them go. And I'm choosing to let them go. At the side of your eyes, I release and let go of all the judgments. Their judgments, my judgments, our judgments. It's safe to let it go. Underneath the eyes, I release and let go of all the would've, should'ves, and could'ves. I can't change them now anyway, so I'm just gonna let them go. I release and let go of all the traumas, the physical and emotional. They taught me whatever lesson they needed to. And now it's safe to let it go. On the top of your lip, take a deep breath in here. Blow it out. I release and let go of all the resentment I hold to myself or anyone else. It's safe to let that go. And I'm choosing to let it go. On your chin, I release and let go of all the negative self-talk. I know this does me no good. And instead, I'll just do it right the next time. It will activate a new way of doing it. At your collarbone. Even though life has altered me, it is safe for me to now be my true self. All of the things that are attached to me that no longer serve me, I choose to release them now. Tapping at the top of your head in a small circle. I'm going to keep all the wisdom, but I'm going to let everything else go. All of that that no longer is serving me, I release and let go to love and light. Grab your wrist, give it a little squeeze. Take a deep breath in, blow it out. Then relax your hands just for a minute, keeping your eyes closed. I want you to sense, feel, and imagine that you're inside of a big bubble. You're standing inside of this bubble. And any of the traumas or the hurts, any of the things that people have said to you that have altered you in any way, shape, or form are outside of this bubble. It cannot penetrate this bubble. It cannot get to you. It cannot alter who you truly are supposed to be. It cannot alter your birthright and your soul purpose. Now, as we keep those things on the outside, we're going to fill our inside with good things. I'll mention a few, and then you can fill it with whatever makes you happy. Let's put the word joyful in there. Grateful, happiness, awakening, thankful, blessed, happy, smile, gifted, I have a purpose. Nobody will stop me from that. That is my birthright. It belongs to me. I can do anything I put my mind to. Take a deep breath in, blow it out. One more time, just tapping right on your heart space. I have everything within me that I need to move forward. All I need to do is to look within. Take another deep breath. Blow it out. Grab your wrist again. Just give it a little squeeze and say peace. And when you're ready, move around a little bit. Open your eyes and tell me if you feel the same, different, or you don't know. Yeah.
My ears cleared.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Anybody else out who want to share? Unmute and share.
That was beautiful.
Oh, thank you, Teresa.
Nice voice, nice cadence. You just took me away.
Oh, thank you.
I like that you gave something to replace it. I've done tapping where we don't really replace, and that idea of the bubble, I could call in some of the words that I'm using this year as affirmation words for me, like guidance is one of them, prosperity, that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Anybody else, Joanne?
Yes. I just received a lot of messages during this, during the tapping, a lot of insight.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
All right, well, we have about 10 minutes left. If anybody has any questions, oh, we got some hearts coming online.
Oh,
If anybody has any questions or comments that they'd like to share or ask, Teresa, why don't you tell us a little bit how they can get a hold of you, and I will make sure I put it in the notes too.
so I have a page and a group, and unfortunately they're both the same name, but I'm trying to get everyone to switch over to the group because it allows me to have more control and see who's all in there. So it's Trans4orm with the 4 in the middle. So it's TRANS4FORM with Teresa. And that's the group page on Facebook. And then I also have a website, TeresaRadams.com.
Okay, and you'll send it, I'll make sure I get it in the notes. So if anybody has a question or a comment they would like to share or to ask her, please feel free. This is a time for question and answers, because I can always make up questions, but it's nice for other people to ask. So
Please ask anything you want.
I was feeling like I must have been releasing something because I kept yawning. And that to me is a letting go and a letting go. So, and I love tapping. I started doing that years ago, and you're just a little kick in the butt to get back to it.
Oh,
So,
I love that, Sue, and that's very common. I notice a lot when I work with clients that yawning is very, very common, and that's because number one, you're moving energy through your body, and so it kind of physically makes your body a little bit tired, and two, it's relaxing, so it's a normal thing. So good.
Thank you.
Do you do the every time you, for yourself, do you do the grounding, all of the pieces? Do you set an intention to go into that? I mean, like if somebody wanted to try it, what would you recommend they do?
As far as the grounding?
Well, just in general to approach the tapping, like the series.
Oh, yes. I feel like grounding is always very important, just so that you are secure and that you have, I feel like that gives you a secure place to release it. So that would be the first thing. The next thing that you would want to do is if like something is bothering you or something is on your mind, you know, something maybe's happened at work or somebody's affected you, the best way to do it is to get a piece of paper and think about whatever it is, you know, the situation itself, and then write down the emotions that come up around that situation. Each individual one. Okay, it made me angry. It made me sad. It made me pissed. It made me, you know, every single one of them. And then when you start to go tap, that's literally what you do. I release the anger. I release the pissed. I release the sad, you know, and so when you do it for yourself, the best way to do it is to first think about the situation and then the emotions that come along or that come with that situation. And rather than letting those emotions take over you and your mood and everything else, then you write them down and tap on them and release them before they change you. Even your day, before they change your day. Don't allow that to happen. You know, write them down, acknowledge them, and then release them and let them go. And then put something happy back in your head.
Yes, replace it with something else. I really appreciated that part, you know, like recently I was led to Walt Whitman's where be curious, not judgmental. So it gives me something else to do besides judge. Do you have a certain time of day you think it's better, like before you go to bed, or do you do this every day, you're tapping? Or
I just do it when I feel like I need it. I always do it with my client, and so maybe that's why I don't do it so much by myself, because I'm doing it on a regular basis with my clients. But I definitely do it anytime something has emotionally affected me in a way that I don't want it to affect me.
Mhm.
That's definitely a key to, you know, being aware of what's affecting you, which is writing down the emotion that makes you aware of it and how it's affecting you. And then the way that you want to get rid of it is just to, you know, you want that to go away and you want the happy things to come back in. And it works. I haven't had anyone, like I said, that one person told me that she didn't feel a difference, but the next day she was like, you know, so I just haven't had a time where it didn't work, to where it released those things that truly no longer are doing you any good or serving any purpose.
Right. And I love the idea of replacing them with something. All right, we have a few minutes. Anyone else have a question or a comment they'd like to make? Go ahead, Robin.
Good evening. Everything Teresa says is 100% true in my book. If you don't release your anxiety, it comes, if you don't release your feelings, it comes back as anxiety in your future. And I too used to have to take medicine for it. And now I no longer do, because I was able to get my feelings expressed and stuff and make things better. And it's just such a beautiful balance now, because it was a real struggle with balance before. And I also tell my daughters, I have 3 daughters, they're all in their 30s. And I tell them, tap on your body to get out of your head. One's an Aries, one's a Pisces, and one's a Leo. So,
I
and
like
I've
it. Tap on your
with
body to get out
anxiety
of your
themselves.
head. I like that very
That's
much.
a good
So,
one
and I
too.
say that a
Yeah.
lot. And also write, paint, get it out that other way too. You know, write it down, type it, talk it to your phone about it. I mean, just, keep a journal is what I try to tell them, but because they're younger, they don't really do that very much. But it took me 50 years to figure it out myself. So it's all good.
Yeah.
But thank you, Teresa. I just love this. I've seen your growth, and it's substantial, and it's just beautiful
Thank
what
you,
you're doing.
Robin.
And that's really important if you're watching this in a replay or you're new to any of this. This is growth. It takes a time to be aware, and what we can promise, when you spend the time to do it, you won't even remember where you are now.
That's so true.
It's really hard to remember who we were even 3 years ago. So
Yeah, I think Joanne had her hand up.
go ahead, Joanne.
Yeah. When I work with clients, I have them actually tap on their chakras to help activate, open, get the energy to flow on their chakra points as well. So I find that to be extremely helpful too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very nice to be led through it too, because then I don't know about anybody else, I don't have to fight the little voice in my head as much.
Well,
Actually, the little voice in my head's much quieter than it once was. So
well, and when, you know, when you're especially when you're working with, because this was like just like a general one, but when you're working with a client and you're leading them through it, a lot of times you're leading them through something that they can't truly see themselves because they're in it, you know, and so it's real eye-opening, you know, because and most of the time you're saying back the words that they've actually told you themselves, but you're saying it back to them. It's the first time they've heard it said to them and not in their own mind, and it makes a total different shift to them when it's said, you know, when it's, you know, I've even had people say, oh my gosh, where did you get that? And I would say, it's what you said to me.
I have reasoning for that, Teresa, actually. It's because we as empaths see in different levels than people who aren't. We just see different levels, different ways, different things, 3, 4D, 5D, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, we see differently than most people.
Yeah.
Well, it definitely is a big piece of this. Well, Teresa, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I was so excited about being on here.
And it was fun. It went fast, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
It goes very fast.
I really appreciate it.
When it first starts, people are like, oh my God, a whole hour. And they kind of look at the clock, and then it just goes. And we thank you. And please, I will put Teresa's contact information. And thank you so much. Thank you all who attended. I think we had about 11 or 12 people online itself. And of course, if you're watching this in replay, let us know that you're watching it on replay. And thank you so much. I really appreciate all the guests that come next month. We have Deborah coming, who's going to do, so come on back, everybody who's here. She's going to talk to us about her color system of reading, who your colors are. It's fascinating how it joins astrology too. So, and she was channeled this whole color way of reading people. So it's fascinating. So she'll be back next month. But Teresa, thank you so much. I'll definitely have you come back and talk to us as time goes on too. And thank you all very much from Intuition of the Soul. Namaste and take
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.